Hey folks, how you doing? This is Leo Naranjo IV, candidate for governor of California, 2026 race. I'm sitting here in my backyard enjoying some sunlight, a little bit of warmth. Now that the dampness and the fog and the overhead conditions have lightened up a little bit, we actually have sun down here. Aha, amazing. 3.5 weeks later, we finally get sun. I think it's an atmospheric condition I haven't had here in California for over 30 years. Why am I back? Just got done finishing a post about Stockton. Yes, I did. Look a little scruffy. Yes, I do. Didn't feel like shaving today. No, I didn't. I'm Human Too. That was a song by the Human League, if you haven't heard it, but that's not why I'm here posting. Today I'm posting about something that transpired over the last 48 hours. Some of you have noticed some back and forth on the internet, mostly on the X platform. Some of you have noticed this in the Liberty platform. And some of this have noted this as contacts and people who I post to or tag behind to let them know what's going on campaign-wise, etc., etc. I probably don't need to put this on my campaign website as explanation. This is good enough here. So I just wanted to bring this out in the open, since we've had an out-in-the-open conversation. And I want folks to remember a few points when you're running for candidate as a governor of a state as populous and as big as California. It's a huge undertaking. It is a big task. My fellow candidates are lucky to be in Southern California, those of you who are down there, because in about a 3-hour driving period, you may be able to touch about 10 groups, 2 or 3 cities, because you're close. And up here in the north, for those few of us that are up here, 2 or 3 hour drive might get you to the next county line. You might make it to a city. Might not be the one that you need to get to, but yeah, it's a little bit more challenging that way. Your population centers are down south. Ours are spread out all over the place up north. Wife points out, it's very interesting. People down south seem to have entourages. The people up north seem to be the sheep amongst the wolves in a do or die, you're on your own mentality here. Yep, that's one of the challenges we face. Not even talking about the Bay Area yet, because that's a whole nother aspect of California that most people just rather not talk about, especially right now. And some of the things coming out of the Bay Area that need to be fixed. Hopefully those folks in the Bay Area will start to fix them, but it is what it is. So where does that bring me to today? Today, I want folks to understand this is the 21st century. This is social media. This is sound bites, tidbits, activities, blurbs, posts, blasts. You name it, it happens. For those of you in the political realm that think the old rules still abide, Ronald Reagan says you don't fight with your fellow candidates. That has come and gone many, many years ago. And I believe that started to disappear before Donald Trump ran the first time. And it definitely disappeared when he took Jeb Bush apart on his first time. So for you pundits, consultant types, know-it-alls in the party, please note we're in a different era. If you can't take heat from a fellow candidate, then maybe you shouldn't be in this race, because our opposite numbers are going to be mercilessly attacking you when they get cut loose. They're not going to pull punches. They're going to nuke you and blast you with everything they have, and they'll find stuff, and if they can't find it, wouldn't be surprised if they make it up. We've seen that too, right? We all know that. Poll numbers to me don't matter jack diddly. They're nice, they're neat, they're great talking points, but if we're going to hang our hats on poll numbers, please remember, ladies and gentlemen, poll numbers of 2016 said Hillary Clinton was going to be our president. Poll numbers in 2020 said Donald Trump was not going to lose. So let's not kind of hang our hats on poll numbers. Yes, we have 2 big name people that are running. Unfortunately, that's all you ever hear about. Yes, they both brag about themselves being in the 20 percentile range on their polls that they're probably paying for. But when a chair from San Diego GOP comes out and shows a poll where you're not even above 15%, somebody's misinformed. That's the nice way. Or somebody's lying to somebody else. That's the blunt way. We have a lot of demos in the race. Great. More the merrier. Bring them on. Love it. Every one of them vying for Governor Newsom, Geno Newsom's position to take over this state on the various reasons why they want to be a candidate for governor, much less be governor. Not an impressive field. If you listen to the news and the media reports, and even, yes, that little fiasco that they had of a debate that Mr. Bianco went to, sorry to disappoint you, Chad. You were highlighted that you were there, but the emphasis of that report on you being down there wasn't about you. It wasn't about you holding your own. If anything, it was about the problem the Democrats have because they don't have name recognition for their numerous wealthy candidates trying to vie for the leftovers of the Newsom legacy. He can't run because he's termed out. Best thing that he's ever done for the state of California in the miserable 8 years we've had him as governor. But what he leaves behind is his loser legacy that all of the acolytes on the Democrat side are trying and vying to acquire as much wealth, power, and prestige as they can. Kind of like the old days of England where the king dies and the heirs apparent carve up the remaining leftovers of the kingdom, so to speak. Thank God we're not England at all. But we got somebody from England running. Don't know if he's still a dual citizen or not. Rumor is putting out there that he's finally filed those pesky little forms to disavow his British citizenship. A rumor I'm hearing is he started doing that around the 25th of November. Maybe we can finally get the real forms that show that option was exercised and accepted by the British government, because up until middle of this year, he was still a dual citizen. Want to run a slate in California like they do in England. UK, as a matter of fact, is the word that was put out. We're going to run a slate of candidates like they do in the UK. Sir, this is not the United Kingdom. And God help us if we ever become that fiasco of a government for that country of where they've devolved to now. If that's what you're trying to bring to California, maybe you don't need to run for California governor. If you don't understand what Prop 13 means to a lot of people here, even though you told some folks you're for it, but then you post something on X that says you'd like to see it overturned, then we're going to work on lowering property taxes and pray the Democrats don't raise our property taxes as they currently stand, maybe you don't need to run for the governor of this state. If you're worried about fraud and corruption, more so in Minnesota than you are in California, perhaps you need to go to Minnesota and run over there. If you're worried about the stroll of Figueroa Street, kind of interesting, Mr. Herms and I discussed that not more than about a month ago on the Capitol Patriot Project Forum website. And after a highly interesting conversation with highly interesting facts played out, Mr. Herms, bow to you for your efforts. We agreed on many things, him and I. This is one of his passionate arguments. This is one of his, more or less what you would call his babies to do and to fix. He showed us videos, he showed us information, he showed us tapes from his perspective down south in the LA areas. My perspective came from working in the very programs he was highlighting and the internal ways that they operate and they view things as a worker in Sacramento, California, in the welfare department. Oh yeah, we tag team a lot on various problems within our state. We agreed on many aspects. There was not too much disagreement whatsoever between the two of us. What was highlighted was Mr. Herms is the perspective of down south. Mr. Naranjo is the perspective of a worker from up north. Two examples in a state that has 58 counties. And each one of us gave the perspective from our counties. So that tells you how much money is involved in this problem. And the California Patriots Project, what do their moderators do? And thanks for bringing up this top topic. They banned me from their site. That's humorous. So I got booted from a site that projects welcoming all governor candidates to have debate, hot topic conversations, and everything else. Yes, 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 yes. Everybody but me is invited to that event. Oh, I'm not pining and whining. Whoop-de-whoop, I get blocked. That doesn't reflect on me. That reflects on you, the people running that website. Because my thing is, what are you afraid of? When you ban somebody, they're really, really off the hook, or they're really, really making an impact that you don't want others to pick up on. If I was the fool that you thought I was, you would let me prounce in there and be the fool that you believe I am and continue to look like a fool. My conversation would hold that. Conversations I've had with people so far would tell you that. But that's not what's happening. These conversations are enlightening people. These conversations are turning people's heads from that side to this side. These conversations are pulling supporters of your guy to my side. That's what you don't want to have to continue to happen. Reminds me of being in Berlin, Germany, and the history behind East Germany and West Germany when that country sprung up. And they watched all of their people flow across the border. The East Germans decided, oh, this can't go on forever. We're going to stop this crap. They built a wall. And they built a wall around the city. You're not building a wall. You're just blocking me from speaking to the people that you don't want to hear what I have to say. And so far, it must be pretty impactful, because in a 15-minute speech in Merced, California, in front of the Republican Assembly, I was offered the very next day to speak to the Women's Federated Group in the same city. Oh my, was I ever cautioned. Leo, these people are pro Steve Hilton. You give me 15 minutes and they won't be. That was an interesting conversation I had with those folks. I look forward to speaking with them again, if they let me. But are we talking about fair and open elections? Or are we talking about driven selections? Some of the ladies there remembered me from the previous meeting I had down in Merced. They were happy and glad that I was there, and at the end of their function, they were shocked because the intensity had not changed. It hasn't changed in 50 years. So what does that tell you? Have a bunch of candidates I started with. I refer to them as the core group of people who put their hats into the race. You know who they are. But for those who don't, I'll bring it up. I joined in about the time Mr. Serpa joined in, Mr. Mercury joined in, Mr. Markham joined in, Mr. Zaki joined in, myself. Kind of like the core group. We were some of the first to hit Kim Yeater's podcast, Take Your Power Back, candidate one at a time. She leveled off into us one at a time for about an hour apiece. People got to decide who they wanted, who they liked, what they were looking at. I started off in the United States Army in 1979. I signed up for the delayed entry program. If you ask me, I convinced my mother to sign for me as a 17-year-old. If you ask my mom or some friends of hers, I blackmailed my mother to sign me into going into the Army. That's another story for another time. But that's when I signed to join Uncle Sam's Army. Wonderful time frame that year that gave me in training before I was switched out to finance. Learned many things, observations being one of them. I've had some run-ins for some candidates. I've slammed some candidates. Now, there are certain people out here that would say I've attacked some candidates. That reminds me of being in the welfare department when the supervisor got punished. Well, Leo, you're a union rep. You must have attacked her. I didn't attack her at all. What she did was backstabbed her own employees, and they ratted on her. That's what happened there. Because if I had been attacking her, she would have known. What I have done, however, is I've stood my ground, stood on my convictions, and I've pointed out what other folks say in their own words. What other folks have done. Might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. I try and set a good high bar for myself. But I want to remember and I want to remind a few people out there of some certain things that have happened since August. That's almost 5 months ago. Yes. How quickly we forget. California Patriots Group brought in one of the candidates because, they have an open forum group that they do. Very interesting. They invite people into their forum. But from time to time, they seem to do more than just ask questions or put folks on a hot seat. It's almost like a destructive teardown of a candidate to propel the one they are backing. And it got so hot and heavy for this one particular candidate that I reached out to others to see if they could pry these people off of that candidate. And my reasonings was thus: you invited the man in, and now you're trying to crucify him? What the hell is that? And you're allowing the members in that room to crucify this candidate? They're not asking hard questions. They're trying to rip him to pieces. Charlie Simons was brought in. He asked a simple question: what the hell's going on here? Thank you, Mr. Simons, for your participation in that. It set the room back to middle of the road. Normal. Hit the candidates up all you want. I was given those tender mercies too. Don't think that I wasn't. Twice. Drove a couple of my attackers out of the room because I didn't yield to that stupidity. Probably something they were used to doing, but it failed. So, that was an interesting aspect. I noticed things. I noticed attacks that started on other candidates against the high-level candidates suddenly stopped 4 weeks later. Suddenly had team meetings with the very person that you were lambasting not more than 3 weeks earlier, highlighting their errors, their issues, where they came from. Now we're arm in arm, embracing, marching to the same goal, governorship of California. But only one ass sits in the chair, sir, not multiples. You represent the public, but they don't sit in the seat with you. A big difference. It'd be kind of crowded. I've had some differences with some other people. Yep, sure have. Got some professional differences. And some of that involved military differences, which is why the Republican Party hasn't much flashback on me about that, because it's a leg they can't stand on. veterans going at it with each other. It's a whole different ballgame there. This one was political. And on the top candidates, yep, I fired off on those two top candidates. One states they want to overturn Prop 13. Well, Mr. Hilton, you define what the hell you meant with your posting. Other people are trying, and they're failing miserably at doing what it is they think you meant. What do you mean is the question. Let me make it clear for those of you out there watching this. Prop 13 for me is all the way. I was in that time frame of Prop 13, passed in 1978, and I was 16 years of age. Love it, like it, want it to continue. Matter of fact, I'm going to try and help those folks work towards removing the 2% increase every year item that's still allowed to exist. That would be a major impact for Prop 13, and the only one I'd like to see. Ending property tax. I'm going to have to work on that one a little bit more than just a campaign promise that some people are trying to make for you folks out there. Because number one, if you're going to be smart enough to say you're going to get rid of the property taxes, what are you going to do with the money that you lose for the bills that you have still yet to pay? That smells like increases. Oh, but don't forget California, and in order to pass an increase on taxes, which unfortunately means that the public is now involved. Oh, God, that means you got to vote on that stuff. Jesus, Leo, we don't want to do that. We want things raised, but we don't want them involved in it. We have stakeholders to answer to. Disclaimer, stakeholders to me is the public. For those of you to keep playing that game with that word, stakeholders, what does that mean for Joe Blow average? I tell you what it means for me. If it's not including the public, then it's not being included in the conversation. It's that simple. I don't care who stakeholders are unless it's the public. You got somebody, something, or an organization you're trying to protect, bring them out of the woodwork and let's see what they're involved and invested in. That's my opinion. So that takes care of let's get rid of property tax argument, because people don't seem to understand the concept of bills, revenue, incoming, outgoing. Seem a little footloose and fancy free. Seems to be a great talking point to sauce up the what they refer to as the low information voters. People who supposedly don't know any better. Okay. You say so. You rip out nearly 1/3, if not 1/5 of our tax base and where income revenue comes from in this state. You're getting ready to rack up some bills. And the only way you can do that immediately without the public's input is fee increases, rate increases, and every other BS excuse you use to violate and exclude the public's input. But hey, you don't have to believe me. We've already seen it for over 30 years. I'm going to set my camera down here. Pardon me while I adjust. There we go. Yep, I've taken off on that candidate. Let me put 2 words out for that candidate. And this is going out to Mr. Chad Bianco. Decide what it is you want to do, sir. Do you want to run for governor, or do you want to still do the sheriff thing? Now, I understand your contract doesn't end until 2028, but it would be nice to know what side of the fence you're actually on. Because you're making some statements which don't seem to be jiving or in line with what your job entails you to do right now. ICE involvement? You've got some posts out there that pretty much indicate you like amnesty. You want to see sanctuary state modified, but you don't want to see sanctuary state status end. At least that's what I got from your conversations. I'm very open about where my stance is on that. Sanctuary state status is going to end. If you don't like the way I'm going to do it, take it to court and let's have that argument. I don't think anybody's actually done that with any merit. I found Huntington Beach tried it, and they just got their case thrown out because the judge said they didn't have standings. Okay. I wonder how that's going to work out if a governor does it, where the standing portion is going to be argumented at. But here's the standing on California. We're part of the United States of America. We're not our own country. We're not an independent country, and we have to follow laws. That's why we're part of the country. You may not like the laws, work to change them. That's what you got Congress for. But sanctuary state status has been a disaster for this state since it's enacted, and the cities that follow along that stuff are going to get brought up to speed on that too. There is no sanctuary state status in California. If I'm elected, you want to have sanctuary, run to the churches. They may provide it to you. Embassies may provide it to you for whatever country you run to, but it sure as hell ain't going to be California any longer. That's that. The second thing for Mr. Bianco is to know this. You avoided I'm not going to say Republican because it wasn't Republican. We had a lot of no party preference people and independent people on the stage with us. You avoided a conservative forum. 4 questions asked of 13 candidates running for office. And you couldn't show up because you claimed Kim Yeater and company did not provide you with ample time to adjust your schedule, which we all know is a crock. You got involved with that process 2 or 3 months beforehand, and she notified you way in advance and worked with you, and you still said no. But the week before, you ran to Stockton, California, and did a debate with the demos. 3 of them, no less. They said you were there, but again, the emphasis was they don't know who these Democrat candidates are because they have name recognition problems. I've sent this challenge to you, this invitation to you, and this request to you on numerous occasions, and I guess we're going to start ramping it up going in the next month, January. So I'm going to forewarn you now. Today, it's kind of mean. Tomorrow, it'll be an attack. If there's any military people out there, you're gonna hear these next statements, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my God, this guy is an idiot." Nobody does what he's about ready to do. No military person will ever tell you this is something that you should do. But I'm getting ready to tell you what it is. Mr. Chad Bianco, Sheriff of Riverside County. You have 30 years of experience behind you. My name is Leo Naranjo IV, retired Army veteran of 15 years, retired county welfare department worker of 11 years, retired federal worker of 6 years, state worker for 4 years, and other numerous jobs in between. I've got 36 years experience behind me, sir. I've seen you take a debate impromptu with Tony Thurman that lasted for about 30 minutes, I think I saw, on Fox News 11. Impromptu debate. Tony Thurman tore you a new one. Now, you can claim you won it, but we all know how embarrassing that debate was when you get stumped by the worst administrator in education in California in decades. And so I'm offering you this challenge. I would like to debate with you one-on-one. Republican candidate versus Republican candidate. You and me. That's it. No one else on the stage. And here's the terms and conditions that I would like to lay out on your behalf and on my behalf. You can pick the date. You can pick the time. You can pick the place. You can pick the topics. You can pick the moderators. You can pick whether we have an audience or not. You can pick whether we have TV personalities or not, and you can actually pick which TV personalities you'd like to be present. My only demand is my family be allowed to be present as well. Oh, one more. But it's a joint demand, so I won't say it's my demand. It's our demand. Mr. Vem Miller, I will agree, will not be invited to this event for your behalf, not mine. I care less if he shows up. I mean, if he does, I'd like to see him there. Nice guy, met him before. Cool individual to be interviewed by. He's kind of harsh, but hey, it is what it is. You seem to have problems with his presence, but maybe that's because of the lawsuit from your BS charge on him. Still, he doesn't need to be there. That's fine. If you don't want him there, hey, I'm totally okay with that too. But everything else is in your lap to do. So we don't have these excuses of why you can't make it. You're setting up the schedule. I'm just being there to accept the challenge. I'd really like to have you take that opportunity to think about it and get back with me on it at your leisure and convenience. And right about now, the military people are saying this guy is either completely reckless and an idiot or he has something behind him. And I'll tell you what that something behind me is. God, my family, and the knowledge that I know what the hell I'm doing. I've heard some things about you coming out of Riverside. So what? I was cautioned when I went down to Temecula School District. Leo, do you realize where you're standing? No, sir. Where am I standing? Other than in the parking lot of a high school. This is Riverside County, sir. You're in Chad Bianco land. I said, oh, really? Give him my card. Let him know I was here, planting my flag in his backyard. That's my challenge to you. You seem to be worried when Mel Gibson was thinking about jumping in the race. Matter of fact, in your own interview with Kim Yeater, you said you were the only candidate that could win unless Mel Gibson jumped in the race. Then you'd have to reconsider your position. Doesn't sound like somebody convinced they can win Jack Diddley to me. Sounds like somebody was kind of afraid of the opposition. James Wood came in. You became afraid of that one. Both of those two gentlemen are not running, by the way, just so that you know. Kamala Harris came in. You were terrified if she was going to jump into the race. I, on the other hand, embraced her showing up for the race. I wanted her to be in the race. I wanted to debate that woman, too. That would have been great. But you panicked. Now you worry about Swalwell, you worry about Porter, you worry about Caruso, you worry about Steyer. Who else are you worried about? And what are you worried over? You either can or you can't. But from where I'm looking at right now, you can't. The offer is out there, the challenge is out there, will be more pointed and direct as time goes along, because it seems that you want to do the Kamala Harris thing and hide behind the poll numbers and run away at the first inkling of adversity. It reminds me of Kamala Harris before that first vote came out when she was running for president, how she suddenly caved and quit. Is that what you're doing, sir? Because remember, your contract doesn't end until 2028, so you can kind of drop out and still have a job. But I'd like to see you actually quit your job and step up. You're looking like Harris and you're acting like Joe Biden. That's just me. Steve Hilton's the other character in question. Yep, I've gone on him too. Cease and desist order, that's on my website. You'll see that now, Leo Naranjo, the number 4gov.com. Bogus website asking state employees to give this man information on the inner workings of state agencies to identify fraud, waste, and abuse. What a crock that is. Ladies and gentlemen, let me make it very clear. I will at all times look to, ask, request, and expect state employees to identify fraud, waste, and abuse in their departments the legal way, so as to protect themselves from retribution from those who don't want those reports made public. But I will never ask state employees, civil servants, union members, or whomever to put that information out on some link to a website I've created to take that information and do God knows what with it, as Mr. Hilton has. those people, if found, could be terminated for breach of confidentiality violations. SEIU confirmed that thought that I had when I spoke to them directly. They're not going to warn their members. What they're going to do is feel bad for them when they walk out the door. I'm here to run a campaign, but I'm not going to throw people in front of me to do it, as Mr. Hilton is. Shameful. Figueroa Street, human trafficking. Mr. Herms and I are on the same accord. Mr. Hilton, however, feels that as governor, he would call him the National Guard, and his most recent posting was the question behind that: why would the Democrats oppose this? I've called up the media right away, and I let them know what that commentary was on his X posting and the video that accomplished it, and I told them directly, he doesn't need to wait on the Democrats, because I'm going to oppose him directly, which I'm doing here and now again for emphasis. I would never want to see the National Guard utilized to police Figueroa Street. There are no conditions, there are no assets that are in danger that requires such a posting. If there were, then I would employ the National Guard, but it would be the purpose of policing the streets. So Mr. Hilton has now moved off on a different topic. He's arguing about Mr. Swalwell's run for governor and how he's an incompetent, hasn't voted in Congress for years. Okay, whatever. He's moved off that topic into something else, like a charlatan. That's an attack. Sorry. My status is very clear. First and foremost, for the citizens of this state, what are we going to do? We're going to bring costs down by 50%. We're going to reduce spending by the similar amounts that we reduce cost. You cannot just cut out state tax and call it a day. There's impacts to that decision. You can't just carve out 50,000, 100,000, the first 100,000 of income or property tax and figure everything's going to be hunky-dory and nothing else behind it. And I don't need you to read 5,000 pages of explanation of what I'm going to do with the 300 bullet points to do it. I'm letting you know exactly what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. And I don't need 25 paragraphs to do it. I can do it in about 2. The difference between those that want to lead and those who do. I'm not about mediocrity. I've already said that. Continue to say that. Haven't changed from saying that. I'm about success and successful results. Now, this one might have slipped past me. I'll give you this one. Hell. Is Vallejo bankrupt? Is that city underwater to the degree that their police force is just kind of there because they can't even fund them? Well, that's a new one to me that I just found out in the last 48 hours that I now have to look into. Benicia getting ready to go bankrupt, it seems. It might be a little bit off. They can sell that property. But how that went down, I spoke to those people. Their city manager spoke to me, let me know 3 months in advance they were trying to sell the refinery. 3 months later from our conversation, they actually announced that they were trying to sell the refinery. Nobody wants it. Europeans don't want it. They can't sell it. They can't even develop the land because they got to clean it off first. But meanwhile, we're heralding pell-mell into what's going to happen in April when that plant fully and functionally closes down. Listen to the mayor, they got a $1.2 million problem. You listen to the mayor's staff, they got a $12 million problem. I looked at the numbers and chuckled because they didn't want to have the conversation on how to fix their issue. Granted, I was only an exploratory candidate at the time, and I have yet to recall them to have that conversation, but that's some of the problems that they have. Hell, they know where I am. But that was an exploratory candidate. Game's changed now. As a candidate, if you want some assistance, if I offered it to you freely, that'd be one thing. But at this point in time, we had that talk and you kind of scoffed at it. So if you drag me back into this now, I'm going to hit you up with the standard consultant fees plus $200,000. You pay everybody else, and they don't provide you with results. Ileton, another bankrupt city. Today's the 17th. They only got 15 days left before their first penalty pop is due at the end of December, 31st, matter of fact. Their city manager, arrogant that he was, wanted to take me on and show me people at work. What I saw was a cabal of lunacy in action to the public on how to sell everything that they didn't need, try and keep possession of what they have, but they failed to realize you can't keep City Hall, sir. Ladies and gentlemen down there in Ileton, City Hall was part of your package to accept that big bridge loan that you defaulted on. The City Hall building that you think you own, that was part of your collateral. Now the question is, who owns it? And it ain't you. Just had a news article about Ileton. They're building 300 new homes in a city that's about to declare itself bankrupt, but can't because they don't have the money. And this builder is happy doing what he's doing, and God bless him for the attempt that he's trying to make, but even the City Hall people understand that property tax is nowhere near the amount of money they need to come up with to save that city. Somebody's grabbing that property, is what it seems to be like. Mr. Hume, you want to have that conversation, and all of a sudden you pull back when the conversation between me and Ileton broke down. Now you're coming up with governmental excuses of why you're not available. Okay, point noted, I get it. We'll make the attempt. You don't have to play ball. You don't have to have a conversation with me. You don't have to do anything. But I understand. Del Norte has a wonderful port up in their county area, Del Norte. Love to see that expanded, love to see that worked on. I would love to see those people take charge of their facility and open it up to being able to bring in fuel, to being able to bring in and out lumber and products through those facilities up north. Hell, I'd even like to see that as a stopover for tourists on their way to Alaska and points farther north. But from what I was told, coastal commissions, this commission, that commission, some BS commission, another wannabe commission, who knows what else that they have that impedes anything, up to and including Mother Nature. Mother Nature we can try and work with. The other people, regulatory what we can't do's as opposed to how we can fix it and make it work. I've made no contentions about that. Every position that Gavin Newsom has staffed, that Gino has filled with his compatriots, his buddies, his supporters, we're going to empty all those out. Just saw something overturned about COVID penalties. Letting you folks know right now, if elected governor, we're going to send all that COVID money right back to where it was taken from, if not outright stolen, quote unquote, my words only, and forced by people to pay or businesses to pay because they didn't heal to when the government said, you had to do this or else. You're going to return those funds to ill-gotten. What's the cost, Leo? Ooh, that's gonna cost something for somebody. Yep, it sure is. Probably cost some NGOs some money. Oh, we're going after them next. Probably going to cost some state agencies some money. We're going to unload a few of those next. There's a lot of people in state government that better start dusting off resumes, scrambling to come up with resolutions and fix problems before the election happens. Because if elected, I'm coming in there screaming bloody murder on what the hell's been going on and why haven't you people done anything to fix it, correct it, or adjust for it. What was that problem we just had on the news? $500,000 to do a 911 program that failed, and the only response we get out of the current government is, well, ish happens, Leo. Okay. Yes, I do have my position that I would like to see filled by somebody that I know who can do the job to put electronics, IT, the digital world on track in this state. I will be reaching out to her as we go and move forward. And if we win, I will definitely move out to her to see if she would accept the task. Who was that? It's one of my former bosses. Yes. She's a former IT boss manager that hired me. Am I doing it as a favor back to her? No, I'm not doing it as anything back to her under those conditions. I'm giving it back to her because she can do a good job. She's former military like I am, and she knows damn well what's expected. This isn't a buddy-buddy thing where you go in there, mess up, nothing happens. No, there's expectations. Just like she had of me, I will have of her. And her expectation is to fix this state's IT department and their IT statuses and to get them up and running, and not at the $1 billion and, oh, well, we screwed up, we need $5 billion more to try it again. No. We're going to do that the right way the first time around. People are so happy and bold in this state now. Almost cussed. I'm sorry. People are so happy and bold in this state now, they don't even give a damn whether you know that they're absconding with funds or not. That's how open they are in this government and in this state today. That's embarrassing. And that's going to end if I'm elected governor. It's going to end the careers of a few people that think that way, I'll tell you that much. So, with that, let me say this, Mr. Serpa. I was that guy that reached out and tried to help you when you were being pummeled. I was that guy that stood up to your surrogate, Mr. Hilton, who I believe you're helping, given the facts of what I've seen and how you react to certain things I say and do. It looks like on your last post to me before you took the, you blocked me, sir. The last act you did was to chastise me for not doing anything towards human trafficking. Well, that's a lie. I work with Mr. Herms, if he wants to, but I leave that up to his discretion. You weren't around, so you can accuse me of that not being around in your area, but you're the guy that said you never contacted me, nor was I ever invited. Look that up in the book. You don't care about winning. You don't care about being governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state. There's nothing you really care about. So are you saying openly that you are dropping your race? Because with the attitude that you displayed in the final post that you did to me before you blocked me online, that's probably what you should do, is drop your race. Unfortunate. But that decision is on you. For everybody else, first and foremost, citizens of this state, hasn't changed. My argument hasn't changed. My stance hasn't changed. My platform and my webpage has not changed. And I'm still targeted for what I'm looking for. Prosperity of the state, success of the businesses, success of the people in it, and children that are able to live their lives and their dreams with the education that they have. Not the substandard crap that we give them today, but good education so that they can be competitive in the world of tomorrow when we are long gone. That's my goal and my vision. If you're with it and for it, my name is Leo Naranjo IV, candidate for governor of California in 2026. You can find me on my website, leonaranjo4, gov.com. Check it out, look it up. There's some things going on. I will have another video in the next day, probably by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock tomorrow, if Stockton Mayor doesn't have a good answer for me, because right now we're getting into some technical difficulties that didn't seem to be there 72 hours ago. It's games. I'm not here about games. I'm here about success and resolution and results. They want to play games. Okay. You guys have a great afternoon and a wonderful day before the sun sets and it gets cold. I hope you all have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon and later.